Welcome to the second part of the first lecture, and in this lecture we will discuss about gathering information. Uh, First of all, we have to know what is gathering information and what we will discuss. In this topic, we will discuss information gathering options for simple messages and identify three attributes of quality information. So, before going to start, let me discuss some of the most important things over here. The first, when you have a clear picture of your audience, you need, or your next step is to assemble the information you will include in your message. For simple messages, you may already have all the information at hand, but for more complex messages, you may need to do considerable research or analysis before you are already begin writing. So here, but you can often use variety of informal techniques to gather insight or guide your research efforts. So here are the informal techniques for gathering information. The first is consider the audience perspective. First of all, we will consider the audience perspective, and here the first is to put yourself in the audience position. What are these people thinking, feeling, or planning? What information do they need in order to move forward? If you are initiating a conversation in a social media context, what information will stimulate discussion in your target communities? Now, if we look at the second point, listen to the communities. For almost any subject related to business these days, chances are actually there is a community of customers, product enthusiasts, or other people who engage in online discussions. Find them and listen to what they have to say. So, if you look at the third point, read reports and company documents, it means that annual reports, financial statements, releasing blogs and microblogs by industry experts, marketing reports, and customer surveys are just a few of the many potential sources. So find out whether your company has a knowledge management system or not. A knowledge management system is a centralized database that collects the experiences or insights of the employees throughout the organization. So if we talk with the supervisor, the colleagues and customers, so it means that fellow workers and customers may have information you need, or they may have a good insight into the needs of your target audience. So if we look at the fifth point, ask your audience for input. It means that if you are unsure what audience members need from the message, ask them if at all possible. Admitting you don't know but want to meet their needs will impress an audience more than guessing and getting it wrong. So, in this slide, we discussed thoroughly regarding gathering information, and here in this slide, we will talk about providing required information. So, in this slide, we will talk about providing required information. It means that after you have defined your audience information needs, your next step is to satisfy those needs completely. In addition to delivering the right quantity of information, you are responsible for verifying the quality of that information. So ask yourself these three questions. The first is the information accurate? It means that inaccuracy can cause a host of problems, from embarrassments and the loss of productivity to serious safety or legal issues. So be sure to review any mathematical or financial calculation. Check all the dates and schedule. Examine your own assumptions and conclusion to be certain they are valid. You should also ask the second question: is the information ethical? So, by working hard to ensure the accuracy of the information you gather, you will also avoid many ethical problems in your messages. However, messages can also be unethical if important information is omitted or obstructed. If we ask the third question from ourselves, that is the information pertinent? It means that some points will be more important to your audience than others. By focusing on the information that concerns your audience the most, you increase your chances of sending an effective message. So, if we go to the next slide, we discuss about selecting the right medium. Okay, so as the options continue to multiply, choosing the right medium for each message is to becoming an important communication skill in itself. Although media categories have become increasingly blurred in the recent years, for the sake of discussion, you can think of media as being oral, written, visual, or electronic. So here we will discuss about the advantages and disadvantages of oral media. But before advantages and disadvantages, let me tell you what is oral media. Oral media include face-to-face conversation, interview, speeches, or in-person presentation and meeting. Whenever you talk with someone who is physically in the same place, by giving people the ability to see, to hear, and to react to each other, oral media are useful in encouraging people to ask questions, making comments, and work together to react or to reach the consensus or decision. So, face to face interaction is particularly helpful in complex, emotionally charged situations in which establishing or for fostering a business relationship is important. So, if we talk about the advantages and disadvantages, so the first advantage is provide opportunity to immediate feedback. The second is allow a certain ease of interaction. The third is involve reach non-verbal clues, both physical gestures and vocal inflection. Allow you to express the emotions behind your message. These are actually the advantages, but if you look at the disadvantages, that is restricts it actually restricts participants to those physically present. It also, unless recorded, provide no permanent or verifiable record of the communication. It also reduce communicators' controls over the message. So the other disadvantage is other than for messages that are pre-written or pre-rehearsed, offer no opportunity to revise or edit your spoken words actually. So we cannot edit over here. So these are the oral medium disadvantages. But if you look at the written communication, so in the written communication there are advantages and disadvantages, because we are not further going to in the detail, but we are going to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of oral, written, visual, and electronic. So in written, actually written allows you to plan and control your message. This is also the advantage. The second advantage is it reaches geographically dispersed audiences. It also offers a permanent and verifiable record. It also minimizes the distortion that can accompany oral messages. It can also be used to avoid immediate um, interaction. It can also be de-emphasize any inappropriate emotional components. Uh, if we look at the disadvantages, so it offers limited opportunities for timely feedback. It lacks the rich nonverbal clues or cues provided by oral media. It often takes more time or more resources to create and disturbance. Okay, um, often to make sure that if you take more time, so the more resources to create and distribute. If you look at the last disadvantages, it means that it can require special skills in preparation and production if document is elaborate. Uh, in the next slide, we are dealing with the visual communication. Visual communication can convey complex ideas and relationships quickly. It often less than intimidating than long blocks of text. It can reduce the burdens of the audiences to figure out how the pieces of the message or the concept fit. But if we look at the disadvantages, it can require artistic skills to design. It also requires some technical skills to create. It can require more time to create than equivalent amount of text. It is more difficult to transmit and store than simple textual messages actually. But if you look at the electronic communication here, um, it delivers message quickly. It also reaches geographically dispersed audiences. It offers the persuasive power of multiple formats. It can increase accessibility and openness in an organization. It enables audience interaction through social media features. And if we look at the disadvantages, so the first is it is easy to overuse. It means that we can send too many messages to too many recipients. If you look at the second disadvantage is that it creates privacy risks and concerns, exposing confidential data, employer monitoring, or accidental forwarding actually. But if we look at the third disadvantage, that is Intel security risks, means viruses, spyware, network breaches, etc. If you look at the last point, that is to create productivity concerns, it means that frequent interruption, non-business usage. So these are some of the disadvantages we discussed. Organizing your ideas. So in organizing your ideas, let me briefly discuss some of the points, and then we will move toward the last slide. And in the last slide, I will give assignments for the students, and the students will clearly do those assignments. So if you look at here, organizing the idea, so the topic of your message is overall subject, and your main idea is a specific statement about that topic. For example, if you believe that the current system of using paper forms for filling employees' insurance claims is expensive or slow, you might craft a message in which the topic is employee insurance. So it claims, and the main idea is that a new web-based claim filling system would reduce cost of the company and reduced reimbursement delays for the employees. So before going to talk about more organizing your ideas, we should go to the direct approach. So use when you know your audience will be receptive. It means that we have to talk in a positive way. our messages should be completely positive, that the audience may interact very well, and the audience may understand very well regarding your message actually. So that should be positive. In a positive sense we can deliver our message. But if you look at the indirect approach, so here we should know that when you know your audience, so first of all we have to begin softly. We have to start from the soft voice and the software, and we have to know about the impact of our messages, that what is actually the impact of the message. And if that message is negative, so obviously the indirect approach can be negative, and the students or the audience may get negative messages as well. So these are all about the organizing ideas, and also we can discuss some more things regarding it, just like brainstorming. If you work alone or with others, so generate as many ideas and questions as you can without stopping or criticizing or organizing something. So after you capture all these pieces, look at the patterns and connections to help identify the main idea and the groups of supporting ideas. But if you generalize your approach, so the generalistic approach asks who, what, when, where, why, and how questions to distill major thoughts from unorganized information. If you look at the question and answer chain, so in the question and answer chain, start with the key question that audience is likely to have, and work back toward your message in most cases. So you will find that each answer generates new questions until you identify the information that needs to be your message. Okay, students, as I told you before that in the last slide I will give you assignment. So here is the assignment for the students. You have to write two answers for these different types of answers. Okay, the answer should not be same of every students. So write down advantages and disadvantages of electronic communication. These advantages and disadvantages must be more than 10 points, not those points that I have discussed with you guys. Apart from that, you can also search out, you can take help from the sources net as well, but there should be no plagiarism. You can also write down advantages and disadvantages of visual communication. So your assignment is to write both of the answer of the questions, and after writing down the answers you can send through email address. The email address is here, that is mentioned, and abdul.hafiz3791@gmail.com. So you can send your assignments through this Gmail, and I will receive it and then I will acknowledge it. So thank you very much for the first lecture. To listen to it, you can listen it again and again, and you can make notes out of it as well. Thank you so much. See you in the next lecture. Allah Hafiz.